route. After doing MBA, he joined ABN AMRO, and ABN AMRO was a bank. And I mean, he was working there, but he was not actually enjoying. He was not too happy about his work. He was not enjoying his work much. So after working with ABN AMRO for around 3 years, he switched over to another company which was called AMF Bowling. Now I think I discussed about Bowling Alley, that game which a couple of people have played. They told me yesterday. I think who played? I'm not remembering the name. Somebody said that they have played Bowling Alley. Mm, who was it? But
Yes,
anyway,
sir. Me.
yes, Itika, are you Itika? Itika is speaking, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have played Bowling Alley in World Square Mall, if I'm right, right?
Yes,
Mohan.
sir.
All right. So do they have bowling alley right now? I mean, as of today, do they have that setup?
Sir, I have not went there. Then also the pandemic happened.
Okay, fine, fine. So you have not gone there recently, no problem. So this this guy Deep Kalra, he was around at that time. He must have been in his 20s. So he joined AMF Bowling, and AMF Bowling was a US company, and that US company was setting up bowling alley things in India. But the good part was, now there are pros and cons of everything. So his job had some advantages and his job had some disadvantages. On the disadvantage part, the biggest disadvantage was that the senior people of this company, AMF Bowling, were sitting in US. So there was not much proper guidance available, and it was a new company which was setting up bowling alleys in India. And in India, bowling alleys are not so popular. Even today, they are not so popular. I mean, very few people have played bowling alley. I have still not played. Fine, people have mostly watched in videos and all, but most of the people have not played. And it's not a very popular game because in India, we go after cricket and all. So this was challenging, that senior management is sitting in US, and then you are trying to set up something which is not very popular. So this was the disadvantage part of his job. Advantage part was, or the positive part was, that because most of the people of the company, the senior people, were sitting in US, so there was a lot of freedom of experimenting. Now try to understand, Deep Kalra joined company, and he was in business development, that is in marketing. So he was doing core marketing. He was trying to set up these bowling alleys, and because he was on his own, and because he there was very little guidance for him to get, so he was a very independent, and this actually this kind of independence shaped his mind. So decisions had to be taken by him only. Mind has to be applied by him only. Fine. So because of this, it made him learn a lot. He learned a lot about marketing, about setting up new businesses and all. So it was a kind of job. He was in a job, but then he was on his own. So he called himself a half entrepreneur. Because you are in a job, but still you have to take decisions on your own. So he was a half entrepreneur while he was working with this AMF Bowling. Unfortunately, the company did not went too far. The company did not perform, I mean, extremely good. No. They set up around 200 bowling alley, and then afterwards, he had to leave the job because, if you remember, malls were very less at that time. So because of scarcity of malls and because of less number of malls, the company was not able to expand itself much, because malls were not available. And even today, I mean, today there are so many malls. Even in Ghaziabad, you have around how many malls in Ghaziabad? Any guesses? Anybody? How many malls in Ghaziabad as of today? Any guesses? No guesses. I mean, चलो कुछ तो बोल दो.
Might
25.
be four. No, might be four or five.
Four or five?
So,
Those I knew exactly.
No, at least 15 malls I can tell you, at least 15. But let
Nice,
me tell you
sir.
that this was not the scenario. This was not the scenario back in 2000 and 1990s. I was here in 2003. I was doing engineering from here, and at that time, there was there was absolutely no mall in Ghaziabad. And then in 2004, the Silver City came up, and around at that time in 2005-6, Shipra Mall came up. So Shipra Mall was actually the first mall of Ghaziabad in the Indrapuram. And before Shipra Mall, we all used to go to Center Stage Mall, Noida. So Center Stage Mall was the only mall in 2003, I believe. Yeah. And there was a multiplex called M4U in Sahibabad. So that was not in proper Ghaziabad even. So in 2003, I'm telling you, there was zero malls in Ghaziabad. There was M4U multiplex in Sahibabad. There was no multiplex in Ghaziabad. There was no Shipra Mall in 2003. So in 2003, if if for visiting a mall, you had to go to Noida Sector 18, and there was Center Stage. Have you gone to Center Stage Mall? Some of you. Have you visited Center Stage Mall in Noida?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Okay, fine. So today you have so many malls. I mean, today you cross this uh, the GT road and you will come across two. I mean, you have this Opulent, and then you have Shipra and World Square, and Fun Republic, and this that, and there is Shoprix, and I don't know how many. There are many. Fine, but at that time, because of scarcity of malls, the company was not able to expand itself much because bowling alley need to be set up in a mall. So eventually, what happened was Deep Kalra left this company, and when he left this company, he joined GE Capital. GE means General Electric, again a US company. So GE Capital was actually dealing with financial services. So he joined financial services once again. I mean, he started with his career with financial services, then switched to this AMF bowling, and again went into financial services, GE Capital, as the vice president business development. So that was a good job. That must have been very high paying because he was the vice president of business development, and he was very young at that time. He was in his late 20s, must have been 27, 28. Fine. So that was the story. Now, what happened actually was when he was working with GE Capital as vice president business development, he saw that internet is growing all around. Internet is growing. Fine. मैंने आपको कल बताया था कि internet was invented in 1991. So if you talk about the year 2000, so by year 2000, internet was 9 years old at that time. Internet was 9 years old, and websites were coming up, and new things were happening in the area of internet. So Deep Kalra observed while working as vice president of business development at GE Capital that, oh my God, what's happening around? I mean, internet is coming up, and people are making money through internet. People are selling things on internet, and they are becoming millionaires. So this is what he observed, and because of this observation, even he started thinking of starting something related to internet. So therefore, in the year 2000, Make My Trip was started. Now let's move to the next slide. I'll tell you a bit about his background, Deep Kalra's background. The background is very simple. He belongs to a very humble family. I mean, as of now, today, he is a multi-millionaire. He's very rich man, but his family was not so rich. His grandfather was a dry fruit seller in Chandni Chowk, and his father was also in private service. So there was comfort at home, but there was no luxury. I mean, there was comfort. He could live comfortably. He studied in good colleges, but there was not, spurious money. Fine. So he belongs to basically a service class family, and he's the first businessman from his family. And of course, he grew very rich, but he was the first businessman. So this is what it was. So he joined bowling, and then the venture failed because there were very few malls and multiplexes, and bowling wasn't really liked by Indians. But he gained a lot of knowledge there, as I told you, because senior management was sitting in US, so he had a lot of independence of making decisions, and with that, he learned a lot in marketing and how to set up new businesses. Fine. Then, while working at GE, as I told you, he realized the power of internet. And he also saw that people from IM Ahmedabad only, people like, I mean, his seniors such as Sanjeev Bhikchandani. Now, I should tell you here that Sanjeev Bhikchandani is another graduate of IM Ahmedabad. Have you heard of Naukri.com? I'm sure you must have heard of Naukri.com.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Naukri.com was a company, an internet-based job portal. नौकरी डॉट कॉम के पहले क्या होता था, अखबार में नौकरियां निकलती थी, लोग देखते थे, अप्लाई करते थे. नौकरी डॉट कॉम वॉज द फर्स्ट ऑनलाइन जॉब पोर्टल इन इंडिया, and naukri.com was set up. Somebody is knocking on my door, so let me take him in just a minute. Yeah. So Naukri.com was set up in 1999 by Sanjeev Bhikchandani, and Sanjeev Bhikchandani was also an IIM Ahmedabad graduate. So Deep Kalra saw this, that somebody else also from IIM Ahmedabad has set up an internet business and that business is doing well. तो उसने सोचा कि जब संजीव भीखचंदानी Naukri.com चला सकते हैं तो मैं क्यों नहीं कर सकता हूँ. इंटरनेट ग्रो कर रहा है और मुझे इंटरनेट में जाना चाहिए because everybody was making money through internet. So when he was 30 he told him कि अभी अगर कुछ नहीं किया तो फिर कभी नहीं कर पाएंगे. Fine. So this is the thought which was there in his mind, that if something has to be done, it has to be done now, and if I do not do it now, I'll not be able to do it ever. Fine. So with this thought and with a lot of inspiration from people all around, he started his own business, which was an internet-based travel portal, which was Make My Trip, which is what we know by the name of Make My Trip. So on 1st April 2000, Make My Trip was set up with this thought. Clear? Now let's talk about the journey of Make My Trip. Today we see Make My Trip as a very successful travel portal, and we see it earning a lot of money, and we see a glamorous website, but it was not so earlier. So there were a lot of struggles that Deep Kalra had to face, and we will discuss about those struggles also. So till now, we are clear about how Make My Trip started. So he took a lot of inspiration from people all around and internet businesses, and then he ventured into this area. Why travel? Why did he start a travel portal? There are two or three reasons for this. One, he was fond of travel. I mean, Deep Kalra loved traveling, so travel was something which was very close to his heart. Secondly, his wife was also making travel programs for television. So she was working with some television channel, and she was, making travel programs. So you see that there are a lot of travel programs in many channels they come. So she was making one such travel program, and because she was making travel programs, so Deep Kalra got all the more motivated, and he said that okay, let me venture into travel and tourism. And it was easier for him to take a risk. Why? Because wife was working, so there was one income that was coming from the side of his wife. So he said that अगर business fail भी हो जाता है तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं कि मैं भूखों मर जाऊंगा, कुछ ना कुछ मैं कर लूंगा. And because my wife is working, so money is coming, तो चलो अब हम लोग थोड़ा risk ले सकते हैं. So with this kind of thought, he started a travel portal. And the next point is something which you should know, and this is of a good knowledge, that the first name of Make My Trip was not Make My Trip. Fine. So the initial name of the venture or the initial name of the business was not Make My Trip, but it was IndiaAhoy.com. इंडिया अहॉय. अहॉय का मतलब होता है जैसे आप खुश हो जाते हैं तो आपके मुंह से आवाज निकलती है आहा, ऐसे. तो ये नाम था IndiaAhoy.com. Fine. So this was the first name of his business, and later on it was changed to Make My Trip. And because internet was doing very well at that time. जब ये business start हुआ था तो internet अच्छा चल रहा था, नया नया था, 9 साल हुए थे internet को, और everybody was making money, and a lot of people were attracted towards the internet, and it was doing very well. तो इन्होंने एक बिजनेस खोला इंटरनेट बेस्ड ट्रैवल पोर्टल. तो फंडिंग बड़ी इजीली हो गई. फंडिंग मतलब जब आपको कोई पैसा देता है बिजनेस चलाने के लिए, तो फंडिंग कैसे हुई? एक वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट, ही मेट अ वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट. वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट्स आर द पीपल हु आर इंटरेस्टेड इन investing your business for profits. So you open up a business and you find out a venture capitalist, and you then explain your idea to that venture capitalist. So he is going to invest in your business. He's going to give you money, and वो उतने जो वो पैसे देगा आपको, आपको उसको कंपनी के शेयर्स देने पड़ेंगे या इक्विटी देनी पड़ेगी. अब ये शेयर्स और इक्विटी जो है ये हम लोग क्लास में डिस्कस करेंगे. कुछ लोगों को उसकी नॉलेज होगी, कुछ लोगों को नहीं होगी, सो डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. सो he met this venture capitalist, and because internet business was doing very well and people were making money, so the venture capitalist had no problem in giving him money. And how much money did he got? He got $2 million. I mean, $2 million in 2000 was 1999. 2000 was a great big amount. Fine. So he got a big amount from that venture capitalist, and he invested that amount in his business to expand his business, to purchase computers, to purchase buildings and all. I mean, not building, but space, office space, to rent office space. And in return, what he gave to that venture capitalist was 70% of the equity. So he gave a large part of the company to that person who invested in his business for $2 million. And that is where he made a big mistake. Now I'll try to make you understand why it was a big mistake. Because he was, he did not negotiate much, and he gave away a large part of the company to that venture capitalist for 2 million. So whatever happened next was actually very distressing and fearful for him. Now let us check what happened next. ईयर 2000 में आप लोगों को शायद आइडिया होगा, शायद नहीं होगा। अगर आइडिया नहीं है तो कोई बात नहीं है, आप गूगल करके उसको देखिएगा। ईयर 2000 में एक Y2K प्रॉब्लम आया था। फाइन। And because the Y2K problem was there in the software area, because the millennium was changing from 1999 to 2000, so therefore a software bug had come, and that software bug was called the Y2K. And because of that software bug or software error, or you can say it was not a virus, but it was an error, a bug. Because of that bug, इंटरनेट कंपनीज जो थी उनको काफी नुकसान हुआ था। इंटरनेट का शेयर मार्केट बहुत डाउन हो गया था। खासकर इंटरनेट कंपनीज जो थी उनका शेयर मार्केट बहुत डाउन हो गया था। ये सन 2000 में हुआ था। एंड इट इज because I'm discussing it with you, so I'll send it to you separately also. It is important for you to know this, and we'll discuss more when we meet in class. But right now, you can actually understand it like this, that बिजनेस शुरू हुआ, $2 मिलियन मिले, और $2 मिलियन मिलने के बाद में उन्होंने 70% अपनी कंपनी दूसरे के हवाले कर दी। और बहुत बड़ा पार्ट है 70%। अपनी कंपनी का 70% शेयर्स किसी को दे देना बहुत बड़ी चीज है। और उसके बाद थोड़े दिन बाद आ गई Y2 के प्रॉब्लम, जिसकी वजह से दुनिया भर की इंटरनेट कंपनी के शेयर्स जो थे वो धड़ाम हो गए, और मेक माई ट्रिप को भी नुकसान हुआ। और ये जो इनके इन्वेस्टर महाशय थे जिन्होंने $2 मिलियन इनको दिए थे और इनसे 70% कंपनी ली थी, उन्होंने कहा कि भैया ये अपने शेयर्स तुम वापस रख लो और मुझे मेरा पैसा दे दो, मुझे वापस जाना है। अब ये एक बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम आ गई दीप कालरा के सामने कि Y2 की प्रॉब्लम चल रही है, दुनिया भर की कंपनीज के शेयर्स गिर रहे हैं, और यहाँ पर आपका इन्वेस्टर आपसे कह रहा है कि मुझे मेरा पैसा वापस दो और अपनी कंपनी 70% मुझसे वापस ले लो। अब ये एक बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम थी। अब इसको कैसे डील किया गया? इसको डील ऐसे किया गया, आई मीन आई जस्ट रीड आउट some sentences also simultaneously. So when the dot com bubble burst, ये जो Y2K प्रॉब्लम होती है, this is also called the dot com bubble burst. So when the dot com bubble burst, he had to buy back his own company from his savings. वो जो 70% कंपनी इन्होंने इन्वेस्टर को दी हुई थी, अपनी कंपनी का 70% हिस्सा जो इन्होंने इन्वेस्टर को दिया हुआ था, he had to purchase back that 70% company and give a lot of money to that investor from his own savings. And because he gave the money from his own savings, he entered into a very tough phase in his life, क्योंकि पैसा खत्म होने लग गया, क्योंकि आपने अपनी सेविंग्स जो है वो अपनी कंपनी को बाय बैक करने में लगा दी। फायदा क्या हुआ? फायदा सिर्फ एक हुआ कि सर आप पूरी कंपनी के मालिक बन गए। पहले आप 30% कंपनी के मालिक थे, 70% कंपनी का मालिक आपका इन्वेस्टर था, अब आप पूरी कंपनी के मालिक बन गए। बट द प्रॉब्लम वाज दैट यू हैड टू गिव most of your savings to that investor to buy back 70% of your company. Fine. So it was a very tough time for him, and he did not take salary for 3 years. 3 साल तक दीप कालरा ने उसके बाद कोई सैलरी कंपनी से नहीं ली। सो मुझे लगता है कि 2000 से 2003-4 तक का जो फेज रहा होगा वो बहुत ही खराब रहा होगा, और उस फेज में बहुत स्ट्रगल करी कंपनी ने। एम्प्लॉयज की जो स्ट्रेंथ है दैट गॉट रिड्यूस फ्रॉम 40 to 20, जस्ट हाफ हो गई। 3000 स्क्वायर फुट का ऑफिस था इनका ओखला में, दिल्ली में। वो 3000 फुट का ऑफिस, 3000 स्क्वायर फीट का ऑफिस जो था वो इन्हें खाली करना पड़ा, बिकॉज दे हैड नो मनी टू पे द रेंट, एंड देन दे हैड टू शिफ्ट टू अनदर प्लेस ऑफ जस्ट 1000 स्क्वायर फीट, एंड देयर वर 14-15 चेयर्स। तो काफी स्ट्रगल करनी पड़ी, और 3 साल तक इन्होंने खुद कोई सैलरी नहीं ली, एंड ही हैड टू live upon his savings. So that was a very bad phase for Deep Kalra. And एक पॉइंट ऐसा आया 2002 तक कि इनको लगा कि अब हमारी दुकान हमको बंद कर देनी पड़ेगी, वी विल हैव टू शट द शॉप, एंड वी विल हैव टू क्लोज द बिजनेस, एंड वी विल हैव टू गेट अवे। देयर वाज अ टाइम, दैट वाज अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टाइम। सो द लेसन इज Lesson is that never give, more than 50% of your company to somebody else like this. And if you give, then negotiate well. And second lesson is कि sir business कभी straight line में नहीं चलता. If you open a business, you must be ready to face losses because business is all about profits and losses. So if there are profits, there are losses also. So this was a very bad time in his life, and then the journey continued. अब दिक्कत एक और थी. आप स्लाइड को अगर ध्यान से देखेंगे, आई जस्ट रीड आउट. 2001-2002 का जो टाइम था, ऑनलाइन कंज्यूमर्स बड़े कम थे उस समय. अगर आप देखें तो मेक माई ट्रिप क्या था? मेक माई ट्रिप बेसिकली वॉज अ वेबसाइट, एंड मेक माई ट्रिप यूज टू सेल टिकट्स ऑनलाइन. Make My Trip used to sell hotel bookings online. I mean, hotel bookings, I'm not sure whether hotel bookings were there at that time or not, but it was selling flight tickets basically. तो फ्लाइट टिकट आप ऑनलाइन बेच रहे हैं, डॉट कॉम बबल बस्ट हो चुका है, पैसा आपके पास ज्यादा है नहीं, एम्प्लॉय स्ट्रेंथ आधी हो चुकी है, और उस पर अब नई मुसीबत ये आ रही है कि आपके जो कंज्यूमर्स हैं उनको ऑनलाइन चीजें खरीदने की आदत ही नहीं है. 2001-2002 में बहुत कम लोग एटीएम कार्ड्स ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग के लिए यूज कर रहे थे. उस समय लोग एटीएम कार्ड्स यूज करते थे एटीएम पर जाकर कैश निकालने के लिए और फिर कैश परचेजिंग करते थे. तो जो आपके ऑफलाइन ट्रैवल जो होते थे आपके एजेंट्स, लोग उनसे जाके परचेजिंग करते थे. लोग वेबसाइट्स पर अपने क्रेडिट कार्ड या डेबिट कार्ड्स को नहीं यूज करते थे बिकॉज people were very new to this online transaction and therefore they were afraid. तो लोगों को लगता था कि कोई सिक्योरिटी की प्रॉब्लम ना हो जाए, हमारा डेटा लीक ना हो जाए, कोई थेफ्ट ना हो जाए. सो पीपल वर वेरी एक्सट्रीमली एप्रीहेंसिव अबाउट ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग. आज तो हम लोग ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग करते हैं तो आज तो ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग ऐसे होती है कि जस्ट यू हैव टू स्कैन द क्यूआर कोड एंड यू कैन परचेज एनीथिंग. आई मीन जस्ट हैव टू गो टू द वेबसाइट, स्कैन द क्यूआर कोड, पिक आउट योर आइटम, स्कैन द क्यूआर एंड देन यू आर डन. लेकिन 2001-2 में ऐसा नहीं था. मैं खुद अपना एक्सपीरियंस बता रहा हूँ. पहली बार एटीएम मैंने यूज किया 2004 में, एंड इट वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ यूजिंग एन एटीएम. और वो एटीएम कार्ड एटीएम पे ले, आई मीन आई वाज वेरी फ्राइटेंड कि कुछ गड़बड़ ना हो जाए, वो पिन कैसे. टुडे इवन अ क्लास 12th kid is using an ATM like anything, but at that time it was not so. तो बिजनेस में जो घाटा और मार्केट का जो लॉस हुआ वो तो हुआ, साथ में एक और दिक्कत ये आ रही है कि कंज्यूमर्स आपके ऑनलाइन खरीदने को तैयार नहीं हैं. आपकी वेबसाइट पर, आई मीन दिस ही ऑब्जर्व्ड दैट पीपल वर कमिंग ऑन हिज वेबसाइट, people were exploring his website, people were taking inputs from the website, and then they were closing the website and then going and purchasing the tickets from offline counters. वेबसाइट को लोग एक इंफॉर्मेशन पोर्टल की तौर पे यूज कर रहे थे इसकी. लोग वहां पर शॉपिंग नहीं कर रहे थे. दे वर टेकिंग आउट इंफॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम द वेबसाइट एंड देन दे वर गोइंग टू द ट्रैवल एजेंट्स, एंड फ्रॉम द ट्रैवल एजेंट्स दे वर परचेजिंग द टिकट. ठीक है, तो दीप कालरा को तो फायदा हो ही नहीं रहा था ना. और रीजन क्या था? रीजन था इंडियंस ने क्रेडिट कार्ड और डेबिट कार्ड ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग के लिए तब तक यूज करना स्टार्ट नहीं किया था. पेमेंट ऐप आपके कोई थे नहीं. पेमेंट ऐप तो अभी रिसेंट ओरिजिन के हैं, 2010 के बाद ये पेटीएम आया है. तो ये बड़ी समस्या थी. तो अब क्या करा जाए? ऐसे तो दुकान बंद हो जाएगी. इंडिया के लोगों के लिए साइट बनाई है, इंडिया के लोग तो खरीद ही नहीं रहे हैं. वो तो वेबसाइट को इन्फॉर्मेशन के तौर पर यूज कर रहे हैं और जाके ट्रैवल एजेंट से टिकट बांट रहे हैं. तो अब क्या करा इन्होंने? नाउ सी द क्लेवर माइंड, एंड दिस इज द स्टेप दैट ही टुक which actually turned the future of the company. Now the step that he took was, दीप काला ने कहा कि इंडिया के कंज्यूमर्स का फोकस छोड़ो, लेट्स लीव असाइड, because Indians are not in a habit of purchasing online. Let us not focus too much on India. Let us focus on US NRIs. Now US में बहुत सारे NRIs थे, आज भी हैं. At that time also there were so many NRIs. I hope you all know NRIs, non-residential Indians. So there were so many NRIs in US, and they were habitual of online purchasing. Number one. Number two, the NRIs in US used to come to India at least twice a year. तो कहीं किसी का बर्थडे, कहीं किसी की शादी हो रही है, कहीं किसी के घर में कोई प्रोग्राम है, वेकेशन है. So the NRIs of US used to come constantly to India, or at least twice a year, and it was a huge population in US. So Deep Kalra diverted his focus towards the NRIs in US, and he said that if we want to save our company and if we want to stay in the business, we will have to start selling tickets to these NRI people in US. If we only focus on Indian people to purchase our tickets, तो दुकान बंद हो जाएगी, ये नहीं खरीदने वाले अभी. So that was a great step taken by Deep Kalra. He diverted his focus and he started marketing Make My Trip in United States of America. And because these people were habitual of buying online, so this saved the company. तो एक डूबती हुई कंपनी को जो तिनके का सहारा मिला, वो यहां से मिला कि दीप कालरा ने यूएस की तरफ रुख कर लिया. इन्होंने मेक माई ट्रिप को यूएस के एनआरआईज के बीच में मार्केट किया और उनसे कहा कि देखिए आप लोग इंडिया जाते हैं, आप इस पोर्टल को यूज करके टिकट्स खरीदिए, मैं आपको डिस्काउंट दूंगा. And that is how the company was saved from shutting down. Okay, we move to the next slide. Now there were some good things which happened. तो ऐसा नहीं रहा कि कंपनी जो है वो गरीबी के दौर से गुजरती रही, गरीबी रही, लेकिन वो जब यूएस की तरफ जब शिफ्ट हुआ तो फिर पैसा आने लगा, बिकॉज यूएस एनआरआईज जो है उन्होंने फोकस किया, उन्होंने कहा कि अच्छा पोर्टल है एंड दे आर ऑफरिंग टिकट्स ऑन अ डिस्काउंटेड प्राइस, so why not purchase from this portal instead of going to a travel agent. So these NRIs from US, they actually saved the company, and because they had a reason to come to India year after year, so Make My Trip got customers from the US. Fine. आप आज भी अगर देखेंगे, आप चेक करिएगा, मैं आपको बताता हूँ, मेक माई ट्रिप जो है वो इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट में लिस्टेड है ही नहीं. इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट में आप देखिए एनएसई या बीएसई, आप चेक कर लीजिए, मेक माई ट्रिप इज नॉट लिस्टेड इन इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट, but make my trip is listed in the US stock market. Can you tell me the name of US stock market? Anybody? Anyone? What is the name of the stock market of United States of America? Hmm. Silence हो गया. Okay, let me tell you. It's called Nasdaq. Fine. NASDAQ. So make my trip got listed in Nasdaq. ठीक है, इंडिया की स्टॉक मार्केट में आज भी एमएमटी लिस्टेड नहीं है. Fine. Now focus on US consumers, which started in 2001, 2002. It continued till 2005. 2005 तक मेक माई ट्रिप ने एनआरआईज पर फोकस किया. उसके बाद 2005 के बाद में इंडिया में भी सिनेरियो चेंज होने लगा और इन्होंने यूएस के साथ साथ इंडियन कंज्यूमर्स पर भी फोकस करना स्टार्ट किया. व्हाई? बिकॉज बाय 2005 2006 Indian consumers, they became habitual of purchasing online and they become comfortable with the use of credit and debit cards. So MMT started focusing on Indian consumers and then MMT started getting money from Indian consumers also. Fine. So we see that focusing towards US was a clever step that was taken, which saved the company. And when tides turned in India, when the climate changed in India, very cleverly Deep Kalra diverted his attention from US back to India, and then he focused on India as well as US equally. And then he was getting a lot of money from India as well as US. So 2006 to 2010 was a period of extremely high growth, and that was the time when company earned a lot of money, a lot of money. Fine. So these were the nice things to have happened. इसके अलावा एक और बहुत अच्छी बात हुई इंडिया में, ट्रैवलिंग के लिए उसी टाइम पर 2005-2006 में जो है वो लो कॉस्ट एयरलाइंस आ गए. लो कॉस्ट एयरलाइंस, आई होप यू नो, 2000-3000 रुपए के टिकट्स हैं. आज भी लो कॉस्ट एयरलाइंस बहुत लो प्राइसेस पर आपको फ्लाइट टिकट देते हैं. सो अ लॉट ऑफ लो कॉस्ट एयरलाइंस केम एट अराउंड द सेम टाइम. तो अब देखिए, एक तरफ 2001-2002 में दुकान बंद करने की बात चल रही थी और अब 2006-2007 आया है तो कितनी अच्छी अच्छी चीजें होने लग गई. और ये सिर्फ एक स्टेप लेने की वजह से, क्योंकि आपने यूएस को सही टाइम पर यूएस की मार्केट को टारगेट कर लिया था. फाइन. तो अभी क्या हो रहा है कि बहुत अच्छा टाइम चल रहा है 2006 से 2010 वाला. लोग खूब क्रेडिट कार्ड यूज कर रहे हैं, लोग ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग कर रहे हैं, नए वेबसाइट्स भी आ रहे हैं और कॉम्पिटिटर्स भी आ रहे हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि मेक माई ट्रिप अकेला है, कॉम्पिटिटर्स आ गए थे, लेकिन लो कॉस्ट एयरलाइंस भी आ गए थे. तो बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज ओपन अप हो रही थी. Okay, now here we'll take one question. I'll ask you one question. Try to answer this. Can you tell me the names of some competitors of Make My Trip? One or two? Anyone? Are you writing or are you speaking? One or two competitors?
गोआबिबो और त्रिवागो.
Trivago, fine. Yes, absolutely. Trivago, fine. Hotel booking website. Yeah, Yatra, Trivago, Go Ibibo. Fine. So these are all competitors of Make My Trip. But because Make My Trip was the first company to enter this area, and it was the first entrant, so it got all the advantages. Fine, because it got initial customers and it was able to deliver good service. So those customers stayed with Make My Trip. So even after the entry of a lot of competitors, Make My Trip still was, able to maintain its edge over the market. Okay, coming back to the slide. So nice things started happening, and people became familiar with the use of debit and credit card. Low cost airlines came. US market was growing. Indian market was also maturing, and so therefore this was a high growth period. And because of coming of a lot of portals, including Make My Trip, Yatra, Go Ibibo, people became familiar with these portals, and therefore the power shifted from the travel agent to the consumer. So earlier, there were travel agents. Earlier, there were offline offices of travel agents who had the power. Travel agents were the people who used to tell the deal and set the prices. But now it was the consumer who was setting the prices. It was the consumer who had the choice. It was the consumer who had a lot of portals. So that consumer was very much empowered. कंज्यूमर ने कहा कि क्या बात है, मेरे पास एक डेबिट कार्ड है और उस डेबिट कार्ड से मुझे ऑनलाइन टिकट खरीदना है, मुझे बाहर जाना ही नहीं पड़ रहा है, और मेरे पास चॉइसेस हैं, मेरे पास मेक माई ट्रिप है, यात्रा है, क्लियर ट्रिप है, और भी वो बहुत सारी वेबसाइट्स हैं, और लो कॉस्ट एयरलाइंस भी आ गए हैं। तो जो ट्रैवल करते थे बिजनेस के पर्पज से या लेजर के पर्पज से, उनको तो बहुत फायदा हुआ। तो कंज्यूमर्स के हाथ में चॉइस आ गई, कंज्यूमर के हाथ में ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग की पावर आ गई, कंज्यूमर को ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग पे ट्रस्ट हो गया, और मेक माई ट्रिप के पास बहुत सारे कंज्यूमर्स आ गए और बहुत सारा प्रॉफिट आ गया। मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। So another thing that Make My Trip did was, besides flight tickets, Make My Trip also started selling railway tickets. तो रेलवे टिकट्स इन्होंने बेचना शुरू कर दिया। IRCTC की एक वेबसाइट होती है फ्रॉम विच यू कैन परचेज रेलवे टिकट्स। इन एडिशन टू IRCTC website, you can book railway tickets from Make My Trip also. So Make My Trip started offering railway tickets to the consumer, which also added to its revenues and therefore profits. मॉडल क्या था? मॉडल बड़ा सिंपल था कि ये टिकट्स बेचते थे अपनी वेबसाइट के थ्रू, और जो भी रेवेन्यू आता था उसका थोड़ा सा परसेंटेज गवर्नमेंट को देते थे। सो इट वाज ऑन रेवेन्यू शेयरिंग बेसिस, एंड this revenue sharing basis model was followed, and government gave the permission to Make My Trip to sell railway tickets online through its website, and this therefore added to the profit as well as revenues. By 2008, the annual sales of Make My Trip touched 1,000 crores, and commissions touched 100 crores. So profit was 100 crores, and the total revenue or total sales, what you say, was 1,000 crores in 2008. So this was a big amount, and he was growing, and he was growing like anything. And at present, if you check, then 70% of the business of the company is coming from India. फाइन। तो 2001-2 में कहा तो इंडिया वाले जो है वो खरीदने को तैयार नहीं थे और बिजनेस बंद होने वाला था और कंपनी को यूएस की तरफ रुख करना पड़ गया था। कहा आज की डेट में 70% 80% बिजनेस जो है उस कंपनी का इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम इंडियन कंज्यूमर्स। एंड लेट मी टेल यू द वेबसाइट ऑफ मेक माई ट्रिप और MMT is the number one travel portal of India. So one person, Deep Kalra, his vision, his hard work, his determination, his decision not to shut his shop resulted in this success, and today his portal is the number one travel portal in India. आप गूगल पे देखो, आप सर्च करो, आप गूगल पे जाके सिंपल टाइप करो फ्लाइट्स फ्रॉम मुंबई टू दिल्ली, द फर्स्ट वेबसाइट दैट यू विल सी ऑलवेज विल बी मेक माई ट्रिप। आप मुंबई टू दिल्ली सर्च करो, गोवा टू हैदराबाद सर्च कर लो, कहीं से कहीं भी सर्च कर लो, द फर्स्ट वेबसाइट दैट यू विल सी विल बी ऑलवेज मेक माई ट्रिप, because Make My Trip is the number one travel portal of India. And this is how the portal looks like. So you can check it out. It's www.makemytrip.com, and this is how it looks like. So this is extremely feature rich portal. You have flights, you have hotels, you have villas, you have holiday cruise, trains, buses, everything you can book. Everything. Everything. So it is such a feature rich website today. Fine. And yeah, so the portal now it has an army of people selling travel tickets over the phone. So there are employees of Make My Trip who are sitting in the Make My Trip call center, who are calling people and asking them to purchase tickets from its website or doing bookings for them. and they're handling customer related issues. So it has an army of employees now, an army of employees now. And there was a time when employee strength was reduced from 40 to 20 and they had to shift into a smaller office. But because of their perseverance and hard work today, they are seeing a good time. They have expanded their business in India and other countries. And there is a huge army of people who is working for Deep Kalra. And there are more than 50 travel stores. फाइन, तो अब देखिए यहाँ पर कितना शार्प दिमाग है इनका. ऐसा नहीं है कि इन्होंने ऑनलाइन बिजनेस चलाया तो ऑफलाइन से इन्होंने पूरी तरह से नाता तोड़ लिया. नो, he is running the number one travel portal in India and he knows it and he is successful and he is getting customers year on year. But still, he knows that there are people who still like to go and purchase offline tickets from a travel agent. So 50 centers, more than 50 centers of Make My Trip are there, which are operating across the country, and these are travel agents of Make My Trip. फाइन. सो दे आर रनिंग देयर ओन ऑफलाइन स्टोर्स ऑल्सो. जैसे कि आप कपड़े मंगवाते हो तो आप जाके ट्रेंड्स जो मॉल है वहां से खरीद सकते हैं. You can go and you can try your clothes and you can purchase it, and you can also purchase those clothes through a website or an app of agio.com. So very similar model this company is also following. So they are present online and they are also present offline because they do not want to lose those consumers who purchase offline. And there are a lot of many senior citizens and people who are hesitant to use technology. All those people go to travel agent today also. So they have more than 50 offices across the country who assist consumers to purchase tickets and other things offline. So they are clever, online plus offline. They don't want to lose anywhere. And as I told you, 2006 to 2010 was a high growth phase for Make My Trip. And in 2010, Make My Trip was listed on NASDAQ. किसी भी कंपनी के लिए, किसी भी ओनर के लिए सपना होता है कि वो इंडियन स्टॉक मार्केट में लिस्ट करे. और जब कंपनी और ज्यादा एक्सपैंड होती है और जब ओवरसीज ऑपरेट करती है तब जाके कंपनी नैस्डैक में लिस्ट होती है. दीप कालरा ने अपनी कंपनी को नैस्डैक में ही लिस्ट करा रखा है बिकॉज यूएस वाज द मार्केट दैट गेव हिम इनिशियल मनी. और अभी तक मुझे पता नहीं, आई मीन वील ऑल विल फाइंड आउट the answer to this question as to why Make My Trip is not present in Indian stock market, but it is present in US stock market. So we'll find out the answer to this question. उसको मैं ढूंढूंगा इस presentation के बाद. Okay, coming to the last slide of my presentation, that is core strengths of Make My Trip. So number one strength is feature. If you go to Make My Trip website, you will find that they are telling they are selling everything related to travel. They are selling flight ticket. They are selling airline ticket. Oh, sorry, these are same. They are selling train tickets. They are selling hotel. They are selling holiday packages. They are selling bus tickets, and they are selling whatnot. So anything in the space of travel, and you have a website called Make My Trip. You can purchase from there. Secondly, prices. Yeah, they are giving best deals to their customers, and this is why the customers are purchasing so much from the website, and there is so much traffic on the website. And because of the high traffic and a lot of people accessing the website, it is the number one travel portal in India. Then, of course, there is something very important called customer service. Without offering an excellent customer service, you cannot stay in industries such as hotels, travel, tourism. टिक नहीं सकते आप जब तक आपकी कस्टमर सर्विस एक्सीलेंट नहीं होगी, बिकॉज हियर यू हैव टू डील डायरेक्टली विद द कस्टमर एंड दिस इज नॉट अ प्रोडक्ट, दिस इज अ सर्विस. प्रोडक्ट और सर्विस के बीच में मैं आपको डिफरेंसेस बता चुका हूँ. तो दिस इज अ सर्विस, यू आर ऑफरिंग अ सर्विस, therefore you have to be very careful about your customer satisfaction. The moment customers feel dissatisfied, they'll simply switch on to the another portal. वो मेक माई ट्रिप छोड़ के यात्रा.com पे चला जाएगा. उसे कुछ नहीं करना, लैपटॉप पे एक स्क्रीन लगानी है खाली. फाइन. You have to be very careful and they are careful, and they have excellent refund policies. ज्यादातर कंपनीज की रिफंड पॉलिसीज इतनी अच्छी नहीं है जितनी मेक माई ट्रिप की है. रिफंड इज अ वेरी बिग थिंग. लोगों के ट्रैवल प्लान कैंसिल हो जाते हैं तो लोग रिफंड चाहते हैं, एंड व्हेन दे डू नॉट गेट रिफंड it causes a lot of irritation to the customer. Thankfully, Make My Trip has got excellent refund policies, which is helping the customers to which is helping the company to stay in touch with its customers. Last but not the least, branding. Now, about branding, I'll not tell you right now. I'll not say a word about branding because branding in itself is a huge concept. And probably when we'll take marketing classes, then I'll dedicate 1 full hour to branding, where we'll try to understand what branding is all about. Fine. So these are some strengths of Make My Trip as I have taken into account for this presentation. I am closing the presentation and I'm stopping the share. And now for the next how many minutes are remaining? We have 10 minutes in hand. For the next 10 minutes, we can share information, we can ask questions, we can discuss anything you feel like related to the presentation. The house is open and you can share your ideas. How was the presentation? Was it informative?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'll share the PPTs with you. I'll just shortly mail the PPTs with you. Fine. So house is open. Anything you want to say, anything you want to ask, anything you want to share, I'm open. And let me tell you the source of this presentation. I've taken this information from there's a book called Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish. So I don't know how many people have heard the name of that book or read that book, but there is a book called Stay Hungry, Stay Foolish by Rashmi Bansal. Rashmi Bansal is in pass out of IIM Ahmedabad again. So she has actually written the stories of 25 IIM graduates who went on to become successful businessmen. And one of the story was about Deep Kalra, and I've mailed you the PDF of that. So I've taken the information, much of the information from there, and 30% of the 20% of the information I've taken from internet from elsewhere sources. Fine. Okay, let me ask you, and frankly, 5 more minutes, and then you all can go for taking lunch. I'll also go for taking lunch. Uh, can you tell me three qualities in Deep Kalra that helped him become successful entrepreneur? Three qualities. Anybody? Three qualities that helped him become such a successful entrepreneur. हम्म किसी का मन नहीं मुझसे बात करने का. Never give up. Okay, Abhishek, that's very essential quality. You don't have to give up. Yeah, fine. Etika is writing. He just keep trying for to go for what is actually made for. Yes, believes in himself. Yes, very correct, sweetie. And Etika is also correct. Just kept trying to go for what is actually made for. Yes. So once he decided to operate in the travel space, he was determined. He was determined. Fine. तो 2002 में दुकान बंद करके वो चल नहीं दिया. Fine. There was a bad time, and all those things were there. Loss of revenue, loss of customers, and all those times. So, but he decided to stay on. He decided to stay on. So, as an entrepreneur, yeah, he decided to stay on. Abhishek, big goals never quit. Consistency. Yes, yes. And see, let me tell you, एक जाते जाते एक point कहना चाहता हूँ. एक बहुत बड़ी ताकत है मेक माई ट्रिप की, क्योंकि वो एक पोर्टल चला रहे हैं. दे आर रनिंग एन इंटरनेट बिजनेस. उनकी एक बहुत बड़ी ताकत ये है, उनका जो एनालिटिक्स है ना, वेबसाइट एनालिटिक्स, वो बहुत जबरदस्त है. उस समय भी वेबसाइट एनालिटिक्स ने ही मेक माई ट्रिप को बचाया था, क्योंकि वेबसाइट एनालिटिक्स से ही ये पता लगा था कि इंडियन कंज्यूमर्स वेबसाइट पर आ तो रहे हैं लेकिन परचेज नहीं कर रहे. और यूएस की तरफ आपको जाना चाहिए. सो इफ यू टर्न टूवर्ड्स यूएस कस्टमर्स यू विल बी एबल टू सेव योरसेल्फ. सो इट वाज बिकॉज of analytics, website analytics, digital analytics, what you call, the company was able to save itself. And today also, their website analytics or digital analytics or number game is extremely strong. And this is one of the key strengths of Make My Trip. So yes, apart from all these things that Abhishek and Etika and everybody has written, analytics is also very important. Yeah, Juhi, you can ask your question. You can unmute your mic and ask so that everybody can listen.
What are the demerits of mytrip.com? As every business have merits and demerits.
Demerits, I don't know exactly. I'll have to find out because I have not focused on demerits. Demerits in what sense are you asking?
They're in a competition with others.
Okay, so basically you are asking weaknesses.
Yeah.
See, Juhi, the answer I would like to tell you like this. In Indian travel space, Make My Trip is the number one job portal. Sorry, number one travel portal. Fine. So others are actually following Make My Trip, and Make My Trip is the leader. Fine. So it is very difficult for us to find out demerits in Make My Trip. Uh, Personally, I've not been a very heavy user of Make My Trip, but I'll try to find out your question. So I'll try to tell you about the demerits of Make My Trip. Uh, I apologize for focusing only on merits because my mind was towards motivating you people through his story. So right now I did not focus on demerits, but I'll let you know. Give me some time, Juhi. Okay?
So suppose I am the first customer for a travel agency,
Hmm.
then why would I like to go for make my trip only?
Why would you like to go for Make My Trip only? Because of their deals that they give you. Fine. As a customer, what would you want? You want good service, number one. You want good
Yeah.
service at a good price, number two. Fine.
Okay.
And then when you are using a portal, you want that portal to be easy. You want that portal to offer you a lot of features. Fine. So basically, for do these two, three things, you will opt for Make My Trip. Features, prices, and good service.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Fine. So with that, let me close the presentation today. And tomorrow, 11 a.m. onwards, you will have the activity. I'll also join and watch what's going on. Day after tomorrow, I'll share your syllabus with you, and we'll discuss the syllabus. I'll take you through your syllabus actually because a good news is about to come. I'll share it very soon. Uh, so we need to understand what is there in our syllabus also. Fine. So that's it. Diwali holidays, I'll declare by evening. So there'll be at least, I think, 3 or 4 days of Diwali holidays. So I'll declare that by evening. And MMT is not listed in BSE and NSE because it is incorporated in Mauritius, primarily because of lower taxes. Okay, Abhishek. Okay, fine. So you smartly browse the internet, right? Good. I like smart people. Thank you for this knowledge, Abhishek. Yeah, it is incorporated in Mauritius for lower tax purpose. Good. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye bye. Please share number of oh, I just forgot. Just a minute. I'll share it here. Just give me a minute. Mm, Fine. So you people can note down her number. You can save it in your phone. This is it. Fine. Can I leave
Thank
now?
you, sir.
Okay. Have lunch. Goodbye.